All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Aguero Prosper, an IT professional at Digitech Zeal. So I would like, anyway, because we are still waiting for others to join, let me not bother us with the introduction yet. Probably we'll do that later. Okay, so we are in here to understand the usage of Microsoft Excel, as we can see on the screen. Mastering Microsoft Excel, and this class is to run for just two days, beginning from this section. So we'll be having another section on Thursday. And if you look at the flyer, we have already specified the area of Excel we want to cover within these 2 days. And looking at those topics that are specified, that covers the basic and the intermediate application or usage of Excel. All right, so without taking much of our time, let's dive in. So we are going to start with our general introduction to Microsoft Excel, under which we will understand what Microsoft Excel is. We'll look at some of the key terminologies that are used when using Microsoft Excel. We'll look at some important application of Microsoft Excel. Then we'll also talk about the interface explanation to try and understand the Microsoft Excel window structure, and then identify some of the key elements. So that is what we are going to cover in this very session. By the grace of God, on Thursday, it's going to be the main practical aspects, because by then we'll have been familiar with the application. Then we'll be able to go into data entry and considering some of the data management tools like we specified in the handy flyer. So let's start with the definition. What is Microsoft Excel? How do we define Microsoft Excel? Now, Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application. So because of the nature of the training, we don't want to bother us much with writing. So I believe we can sit down with the video later on, or as the class is going on, you can be taking notes of important points. Then later on, when the video gets to you, you can make your notes, so that that will allow us to cover a lot of topics. So let's look at the definition again. What is Microsoft Excel? So Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application software developed by Microsoft.com. Let me take it again. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application developed by Microsoft.com that is used to organize, store, calculate, analyze, and visualize data. I hope those key points are noted. Let me take it again. Microsoft Excel is a spreadsheet application developed by Microsoft.com that is used to organize, store, calculate, analyze and visualize data using rows and columns. So basically, that is the simple definition of a cell. Now, if you take that definition, look at some of the keywords that I mentioned, that will give us a deeper understanding on what this program is developed to do. Now, I'm going to take them one after the other. I mentioned organize. Organize. So we are talking about learning Microsoft Excel for record management. So I'm not going to use data analytics terminologies. So we are strictly learning Excel within these 2 days just for handling records. Supposing you are employed as a secretary or as a receptionist, and you are asked to compute records with Microsoft Excel, what are the skills that are required of you? What are the technical skills that you need for you to be able to use Excel? That is the objective of this training. So we are not learning Microsoft Excel for data analytics. That is the advanced aspects of Excel, right? So we are strictly learning it for record or information management, right? Your network is actually disturbing. Okay, so I was saying that the objective of this training is to groom us on how to use Excel for record management, not for data analytics. So if you are employed in a company as a receptionist or as a manager or as a secretary, and you want to use Excel as an electronic software or interface to compute your record or to manage your record, the set of skills that you need is what we are prioritizing within these 2 days. All right, so I'll just like to give us another backup definition, right? But take notes, the first definition highlighted that Excel is an office or spreadsheet application that helps us to organize data, that helps us to store data, that helps us to calculate value, that is, calculation is involved, but these are simple business calculation. And then also to analyze data, which I said that is the aspect of the advanced application of Excel. But the basic and the intermediate aspect of Excel, they are actually meant for how you can manage record, which is the purpose of this training. So let me give us another definition of Excel. So Microsoft Excel is an electronic spreadsheet. Try to explain it from different perspectives for us to understand it better. Microsoft Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program that enables users to perform calculations, organize data, create charts or graphs, analyze information, and automate tasks effectively or efficiently. Let me take that definition again because this actually highlights the core functions of Excel. I said Microsoft Excel is an electronic spreadsheet program that enables users to perform calculations, organize data, create charts or graphs, analyze information, and automate tasks efficiently. Right? Now, if you look at that definition, there's a particular keywords that I kept using, and I want to simplify it because understanding that keyword will play a major role as we proceed with the class. What is the keyword? The keyword is spreadsheet. So what is a spreadsheet? So a spreadsheet is an electronic document made up of rows and columns used for storing, arranging, calculating, and analyzing data. Let me take it again. A spreadsheet is an electronic document made up of rows and columns used for storing, arranging, calculating, and analyzing data. I hope you are following. Please, can I get a feedback? Are you following? I hope you are following, sir. Please, I want to get a response. So if you are here, okay, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's look at some importance. Let's look at some importance of a cell. So at this point, I'll switch to the application involved, which is Excel. So right now, this is Microsoft Excel interface. Now, if you look at that last definition I just gave to us, I said a spreadsheet is an electronic document made up of rows and columns used for storing, arranging, calculating, and analyzing data. Now, this is a spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet. So we are still coming to where we break the entire interface down for us so that each time you are using it, you understand their respective roles. But for now, just know that this is the electronic spreadsheet we are talking about, which is a collection of rows and columns that helps users to store, to arrange, and to perform different calculations. All right, so now okay, so like I was saying, now let's look at the importance. Let's look at the importance of Microsoft Excel. So what are some of the importance of Microsoft Excel? Number one, Microsoft Excel is used for data entry. Number one is data entry. Number one is data entry. Data entry. So we need to understand that. Data entry and storage. Number two important of Excel is for performing calculation. Performing calculations automatically. Number three important of Excel is for creating budgets. For creating budgets and financial reports. Then the next function of Excel is for data analysis. All these are important of Microsoft Excel. Let's add more. For creating it's just a minute, just give me. Hello? All right, sorry about that. So we are still talking about the importance of Microsoft Excel for creating charts and graphs. So if you are working in an office that require the usage of Excel, you are expected to understand most of these that I've mentioned. Then the next one for payroll preparation. Then for preparing attendance sheets and results sheets. So these are some of the functions or importance of Microsoft Excel. All right, so now that we have highlighted some of the importance of Microsoft Excel, so we are going to look at some of the key features. I think at this point, let me clear this. So let's look at features of Microsoft Excel. We want to look at what makes up the application interface. Pictures of Microsoft Excel.
Sorry, Mr. Prosper, please, what's the last one? Preparing what, please?
Preparing attendance sheets and result sheets. That's the last one. Preparing
attendance sheets
and result sheets. That was the last
report
one.
sheets.
Result
sheet. Okay.
Which is
Thank
the
you.
same. Okay. All right. So so let's quickly look at some of the features of Microsoft Excel. So when we talk about feature, we are actually referring to different components that makes up the application. Now, and that's, we can actually rephrase this particular topic as understanding Microsoft Excel windows. So we can add that. So the whole of this topic is to enable us to understand, so let's say, understanding Microsoft Excel window. Understanding Microsoft Excel window. Now, the order of learning Excel or any other application software is that you start by understanding the interface structure. That will enable you to know how where important commands are kept within the program, and that will have a way of building your confidence in using the application. So application software are actually structured in a way that users are given what? An interface to enable them interact with the program. And that is what we want to quickly look at. That is why I said we can rephrase it as what? Understanding Microsoft Excel window. So what is Microsoft Excel window? Now, Microsoft Excel window is the whole of this environment we are seeing at the moment on the screen. And that is why we can define it as the very portion of Microsoft Excel that can be seen on the computer screen when it is opened, just like I've opened mine now. So we can refer to the whole of this as Microsoft Excel what? Interface or Microsoft Excel window. Now, we want to take our time to understand what makes up this window. So that can now take us to the Microsoft Excel window is actually broken into different sections. And each of these sections can be referred to as the features. For example, the whole of this part is one of the features. The whole of this part I'm navigating at is one of the features. So what is the name of that feature before we look at the function? Now, the whole of this, the very first part of the program, which I'm navigating at right now, from this icon down to where you have book 1, Excel, where you have sign in, where you have this 4 button. The whole of that part is referred to as the application title bar. The application title bar. The application title bar. The application title bar. All right. So what is now the role? What role does it play when you are using Excel? Now, the application title bar contain the following. Contain the following. In other words, under that platform, that section that I just showed us now, what and what can we access there? Number one is the can I say let's say the looking for the right better word that can be used. Okay, let's say is our data file name. Let's say file name. Yes, file name. That is the first information we are seeing right now on the title bar. And what is currently representing the file name is book 1. So book 1 is a default file name. That is when you open Excel using the program manager, it comes with that name, book 1. Because sometimes when you go for an interview, they can ask you that the default Excel file name is called what? You say book 1. So if I open another one, now it's going to be what? Book 2. All right. Now, though we are expected when we start collecting important information, we are expected to rename it, to change it to a name that actually describe what we are doing. But for now, let's just know that there is a section called title bar that constitutes the following information, the file name. And then immediately after it, you have the name of the application. So I can say that this particular section displays the file name and the application name, Now, the next information we can also access on that same part, title bar, is these buttons. So I'm going to focus more on this. So what is the role of these buttons? Now, these buttons are called control. They are called control buttons. Now, why are they called control buttons? They are called control buttons because they are used to navigate. They are used to manage the entire Excel interface. In other words, you can instruct the interface in a certain way using this set of buttons. So I'm coming back to explain the role of this, but I just want to focus on these four buttons first. Now, taking them one after the other, this very first one is called the ribbon display option. So what is the actual function of the ribbon display function? The ribbons are this particular information you are seeing here. The ribbon constitutes both the tabs and the properties under the word, the tabs. So what do we mean by tabs? All these menus, like insert is a tab, like page layout is a tab, home is a tab. Now, the collection of these tabs and this property that kept coming out when I was clicking, they are referred to as the ribbons. Now, which means that if we want to know the assignment or the role of the ribbon display option, it then means that the ribbon button is used to control the tabs and their properties. I hope you understand that, sir. Can I get a response from you? Hope you are following.
Yes, please.
Okay. So now, for example, let's say I want to hide the tabs and also the properties. Then I can use this control button to control them. Now, once you click on that button, you can see that we have three item drops. The first one is auto hide. If I click on it, it's going to automatically hide both the tabs and their properties. Then if you go back to that icon, the second option says show tabs. Now, if you click on this option, that is going to show the tabs, but until you click before you can see the command under them. Now, which means that once you step out from that particular tab, for example, if I click anywhere now, the properties will collapse back into the tabs. But I wouldn't want to be working with that structure because it means each time I want to access a command like bold, I have to be expanding it. Then once I step out, then it would collapse back. I wouldn't want that because that would be a kind of distraction. So now I will now go back to the ribbon display to look for the option that can display the tabs and their properties at the same time. So which is the last option, show tabs and commands. So if I click on this option, you can see that even though you step out from that particular tab, you are still accessing the properties under it. So if I click here, while I am out, I am still accessing the properties. So that is the function of the ribbon display option. It is used to control or to manage the tabs and their properties. I hope that is well explained. So that takes us to the next control button. So what is minimize? To minimize is a computer language or term that means that you should take off the current window from the screen. But meanwhile, it's going to be stored within your taskbar, which is this section. So if I click here, what happens is that it minimizes the program. You can see that when you minimize, one of the reasons you minimize as a computer person is that you actually want to see more than one, or you want to switch from one environment to another. So let's say you want to switch from the current window to another window. You can see that with the help of that minimize button, I am able to switch from Microsoft Excel to PowerPoint slide. So it means that we must understand that each time an application is minimized, there is always a place where it will be stored, which is the taskbar. So the whole of this section, which is actually an element of the Microsoft Windows, enable us to view the program icon that are currently what? Running. For example, you can see that Zoom is running, Excel is running, and PowerPoint is running. Though you can pin application to that session, I'm still coming to that. Now, if I want to resume the Microsoft Excel window that we just minimized, all I need to do is to just tap on it and then it will come back. So that is the work of what? This very button, which is what? For minimizing the application. And then when you click on it on the taskbar, then the program comes up again. I hope that is clear. I hope you are following. Please feel free to use the reaction button to notify me in case you have a question, or you can just unmute and then speak out. So if any of these do not happen or occur, then I will assume that all is going well with you over there. All right, so let's quickly look at the next button, which is this. Now, this button is called the restore down or the maximize button. If you look at it, there are two boxes there, which means there are two in one. The first click restores the application. And what is the meaning of application, or what is the meaning of to restore application? To restore means to display a smaller version of that application. So what is the benefit? The benefit is that you will now be able to view more than one interface. Right now, I am viewing part of Excel. At the same time, I am viewing part of what? PowerPoint. So depending on what you are doing, where you want to see or you want to, access to programs at the same time, then you can use what? This button, which has the function of restoring and maximizing. So once you click, the first clicking is to what? To restore, while the second clicking is to what? To maximize, which means that maximize means to, to allow the current application, in this case now Excel, to cover the entire screen. And when that happens, you will only see one application window on the screen. Now, the last button there is called the close button. So the close button is used to take away the application totally from the screen. This time around, if you use this, the program icon will no longer be here, except if it is pinned. But the application or the file you are working on will no longer be accessed except you open it from where you must have saved it. Hope you are here, and I hope you are following. Can I get a response from you? All right, so like I was explaining, I think that brings us to the end of the title bar. So I said I'm going to come back to this particular sign in. So if you have legitimate accounts with Microsoft, then you can sign in, and then it will be personalized to you. But in this case, we are using we are using the general let's say version. So it's not personalized to me. All right. But if I have an account, then I will sign in. And then if you successfully sign in, then you should be able to see probably your profile icon, or if you upload your picture, then it's going to display there. So that is all about the application title bar. Now, before we leave that application title bar, for us to confirm the very first item that can be accessed through it, which I said the file name and the application name. The current file name is book 1. Now, the question now is that how do I update it? And that is us to save it so that we can leave the whole of that session. So the only way you can update this book 1 to a more descriptive name is by saving your worksheet or your record. So you go to File, and then you select Save As. Then from Save As, you need to specify a storage unit within your system. So let's assume that you want to use any of these recently used locations. You can choose from there, but in a case where you don't have any recent use location captured, then you have to go through Browse, and then you should be able to choose whether you want to save on desktop. And then let's say we want to create what says inventory. So I'm using the name that describes the type of data I want to create. Now, after you have typed the file name, so the file name is what we enable the computer to differentiate this particular record from other records that will be channeled or saved to the same location selected, which is desktop. Now, you should also know how to password the sheets, because if you are using it for financial record management, then you need to make sure that you need to make sure that it's secured by assigning a password. So if you want to password it, then instead of selecting save, you are going to hold on for a while and then switch to what? Tools. And then from tools, you go to general option. So from general option, the program will display this dialog box for you to type in your password. So I will just assume that our password is 123, and then repeat the same password here. So 123. And please be careful when to use this option. Read only recommended. If you turn on that option, what you are simply saying is that the file that will be created can only be read. You cannot tamper with it. If you forward it to someone else, the person can only view it. He or she cannot what? Write on it. And when the person tries to edit anything, he or she is going to get a notification that you can only read, or this file is only what? Read file. All right, so I hope you understand that. So if your intention is for that, then you activate it. But if your intention is you want to give access to the receiver to what? To edit or to manipulate, to add or to remove, then there's no point of you activating this option. So you just simply click OK. Now, if it asks you again for a password confirmation, you type the same thing, 123, until it stops asking you for it before you can proceed to what? Clicking on save. So which means that this particular workbook is what? Protected, is passworded. So that is what it means. All right, I hope you understand that. If I can just get a response from you, that would be fine. Okay, so let me assume that all is going well. Now, you can see that we have been able to update the book 1 to our document or our record rename. So that takes us to the next section. Remember, we are still understanding Microsoft Excel environment, so that when we start collecting and managing record, we understand the role of these different features we are identifying. So the next part I want to identify is, so this one is the first part, which is number 1. So the next part is the standard toolbar. Standard toolbar. Standard toolbar. So let's quickly identify it first before we look at the definition. So the whole of this section from here down to this is called the standard toolbar. What is the main function of that section? Now, the standard toolbar is used to customize shortcuts of important commands. Those commands that you use often, they are the command you are expected to represent them with what? Icons here. All right. So the essence of it is to make your work faster. Maybe there's a particular function that you use almost every time you are using Excel. You are advised to station it here so that you don't go through the menu looking for it as a way of making your work faster. For example, you can see that we have Zeal already stamped there. Now, there is an idea that led to the Zeal being stamped there because it's considered to be irregular use function. So instead of us going to file each time we want to save and then going towards save, we have just created an icon representing the continual saving. Now, let's assume that you are given a system and you open the Excel and you can't find any of this. Or you even want to program more command shortcuts. How do you go about it? You click on this icon, which is called Customize Quick Access Toolbar. Now, once you expand it, you are going to see those ones that we are seeing, they are already activated. You can see save, you can see undo, you can see redo. All right. Now, these are the ones that are currently active. So how do you remove, in case you want to remove from the list? You go to that very one, you click on it, you can see that the save icon has been removed. If I want to remove another one, let's say I want to remove the undo, I will also locate it and click. I want to remove the next one, same thing. So it is possible that you are given a cell where the interface appears like this. And you have once used a version of Excel where you were able to access those things. So all you need to do is for you to reactivate them. And that is also how do I customize the important command that I would like to use each time I am using this program. So you click on that icon again. So I'll click on save. So save icon has been added. Then I want to put open because I always want to open my previous records. And then I would like to open, there are times that I would like to, open a new document. And then also mistake can occur. So there might be need for me to want to undo and also redo. And then if there are other important functions that I feel that I use all the time, then I will put them there. Let's say, for example, I want to use, I want to put a print preview. I want a shortcut that can always help me to preview my record before I send them to my printer. Or there are other functions that I want to include, but they are not in the default list. So how do I reach out to them? Then you go to more command. So from more command, you see a kind of compound lists of almost all the functions within the application. You can see a lot of them, which are groups. These ones that we are seeing right now, they are grouped under popular command. So if you drop this, you see different category. So if you click on this now, you see another set of command. So that is how you can display the category of command you want to access. Now let's assume that I couldn't find a chart and I create chart a lot, maybe during my entry manipulation, or data analysis. So I'll click here. These are the ones we have already programmed from the default list. So you always see them by your right. Then any other one you want to add, all you need is just to click on it, and then you select this option to migrate it. So let's say I want to add a shortcut to delete what? A column, or to delete a sheet, to delete cell, or to delete sheet column, or to delete sheet row for any reason. So let's say adding this. So this is how you can add more. Now, how do we now remove? Supposing you, after adding several commands, you now discover that you have too many commands that are, because of that, you are kind of distracted. So what do? You come back here. Let's say I want to remove this. You click on it and then use what? Remove. And then finally, you click OK. Once you click OK, you are going to find them in, you're going to find them on that section. And I hope that is clear. I hope that is clear, sir. Are we together? Mr. Sunday, are we together? Okay, so let me assume that you are following. So that is all about what the standard toolbar. But one more thing before we leave it is that let's assume that I want to relocate the position. I want to relocate the position of the standard toolbar from the top to somewhere before the formula bar here. So all you need to do is just to click on that same customize quick access, and then you click on show below the ribbon. So that is going to bring it up here. I hope you are following. So what I did now is that I am able to move it from the top part or section to down here, which is closer to where I'll be needing it. So let's say I want to take it back. This is the icon I click on. You click here, and then you come to what? Show above ribbon. So it comes up again. So if I want to bring it down, you click again, you select what? Show below ribbon. So that is how you can relocate the standard toolbar from the top to the bottom or before the formula bar. So that is all about the standard toolbar. Now let's look at the next part. Remember, we are still understanding Microsoft Excel environments as the order of learning it. Now, the next part, we have identified the application title bar and then the standard toolbar. So the third part is the tabs. We refer to this as the tabs bar. The tabs bar. So what are the tabs? All these menus, they are referred to as what? The tabs. They are referred to as the tabs. So they are like different rooms where you can access functions. So as an Excel user, you must know where you can actually access stuffs when you are having a particular challenge and you are looking for the solution. You should know which of the tabs contain the function. All right, so that is why it's very important at this point to understand, that there are places where users can always exploit what? Instruction. So the whole of this file, home, insert, page layout, formulas, data, review, view, they are all tabs. They are all tabs. All right. So you will notice that when you click on a tab, we access different functions. So the whole of this part where we are able to display the contents, the commands under the selected tab is called the tabs properties bar. So right now we can attribute the whole of these properties or command to insert. And then if we go to home, you see that what the features, the properties has also what changed. So on and so forth. So anytime you click on any of the tab, now you are going to see different what commands showing up. Some of these commands are for the general Excel usage, while some are for data analysis and so many other purposes. All right, so now we have used one stone to kill two birds. Now, which means that automatically I have explained the fourth part, the fourth feature, which is the tabs, properties bar, which is this section that is showing us the properties of any selected tab. All right, so now the next part is the formula bar. The formula bar. So once I'm done explaining this interface, we will stop there so that we can digest that. So the next class will just go straight to data entry and see the application of those functions that we mentioned in the adverts. Now, the whole of this part is referred to as the formula bar. The formula bar is an essential part of the cell. Very, very important to understand it. Formula what bar. So the formula bar is actually divided into two segments, and it is good we understand the role of each of the segments. Starting with the first part, the whole of this part is, let's say, like I said, is divided into two parts. The first part is what we call the range. The range, or we can also refer to it as arguments. All right, so now this is the part we're talking about here. So currently, the reason why we are saying M18 is because that M18 is trying to tell us that this is a very big workspace. That's why it is called spreadsheets. All right. Now, how do I know the current position where I am on this spreadsheet? That is what this place helps us to find out. Which means that is program based on the column you are in and the row you are in. Why are we having M18? We are seeing M18 as the current argument or range because this active cell, this particular ticker box is called what? Active cell. When you trace it vertically, it's under M column. And then when you trace it horizontally, it's under what? 18. That is why it's configured what? M18. So the column is the first priority, then followed by what? The row. Now, when we understand this principle, you will not know why we can have, like, let's say we have a 900 here, and then we have like 500. And then if I am asked to sum them up, using that knowledge of the argument, knowing the location of the words, these values. Now, the location of the 900 is what? Is M18. The location of the 500 is R3. So which means that what? The cell that is currently holding 500, the name is what? R3. While the cell that is currently holding 900, the label is what? M18. Now, if we now translate it to programming, it becomes the variable name. Because in programming, we know that variables are container that holds what? Value. So which means that in a cell interface, the cells, they are variables because they are boxes where informations are what? Imputed. So right now, this is a box. So if I'm asked, what is the name of the variable holding 500? I will trace the label of it to the column and then trace it to what? To the row. then I will say what? The name of the variable holding 500 is arrow what? 3. Now, with that understanding, I can easily perform a simple arithmetic calculation. For example, I have to start with equals to, which is part of the rules for entering a particular type of data in a cell, which is called formula. Whenever you are entering formula in a cell, you must start by entering what? Equal sign or plus sign. But I will advise you to stick to what? To equal sign. Now, I am asked to multiply or to add 500 and what? 900. Now, I have no business typing 900 then plus like this. I have no business typing 900 and then plus 500 plus 500. This is very, very local. When you go this way, it shows that you don't understand the components of the worksheet, or you don't understand how the worksheet engine works. So what I am expected to do is to reference the range, the variable that is holding the value, which is what? By just clicking here. So clicking on that 900 alone, you have automatically what? Reference the location, the memory location within the Excel spreadsheet library where 900 is what? Kept. Then there is also what we call operators in programming and even in Excel. Operators are special symbols that are used to perform what? Calculation. For example, we are asked to add 900 and 500. So the question is that which one of these operator I'm going to use? I'm going to use what we call arithmetic operator, which is what? The one that constitutes plus sign, minus, that is subtraction, division, and multiplication. All these operators falls under arithmetic what? Operator. Now you must know how to use them. Now we are adding this, so I will now bring in my plus in between. Then select the range or reference the argument of what? 500 by just clicking. And then once I hit enter, the calculation has been what? Performed. And the answer is displayed. It said what? Oh, what? 18. I hope that is understood, sir. If I can get a response, fine. Are we together? All right. So let me assume that Sunday you are here. I believe probably you are attending to something else. So with that, I've explained the formula bar, the first part, which is the what? The argument or the range part. So with that illustration, I believe is well explained. So the second part of that same formula bar is the what we call the function parts, the function parts. So the function part is this, which is denoted with the FS. So this icon actually helps us to exploit what? Inbuilt function within a cell. And the results, this particular part, I want to add it together. Okay, I mean, we can say three parts. We can say three parts. So let me explain the function part. Now, the function part, like I said, helps us to access functions. For example, I have 900 here, and then I have 800 here. Let's say I have 700 here. And I'm asked to write a function to sum up what? These three words information. So I'm going to start with the word equal sign, all right? Or just click inside the cell where you want to output the result, and then click on this FS, and that will automatically display a dialog box asking you to choose a function. So I want to go with sum because I'm asked to add those values. So that will display a dialog box like this. So from here, you pick the range of those values. Where you have those values you want to sum up, you pick them one after the other. So I'll pick this, that's the first one. Then come inside this, then pick the second one, come inside this, and then pick the third one. All right, so when you are done, you can see that the answer has already been computed. When you are done selecting the range, and then you click okay, and then you get the answer. All right, so let's try another function from that same application. So you click here. Let's say I want to count. So I'll click here, and then I'm counting value in this range, and also value in this range, and then also value in this range. Let's say I want to count. Okay, let's count even the summation. So now once I'm done, you can see that it has counted for. Once I click, good. So that is the function part. Now this part displays the contents in a cell. For example, if I click on this cell, you can see that is not showing me anything. Why? Because there is no value. That is an empty cell. But once you click on a cell with the content, you are going to see the value here. Now, there are two types of values that you must understand, or two types of entry. We have direct entry, and then we have query entry. Probably in our next session on Thursday, you are going to understand these terms better. Now, what do I mean by direct entry? Direct entry is any value that you type directly inside or into a cell. For example, now if I type 9,000, this is a direct entry. This is not a calculated value. But if I click here, this is where I'm going. If I click here, I am going to see exactly what I have in the cell in the formula bar. But if I click on this, look at the difference. Instead of me seeing 2,400, I am seeing the formula that computed it. So which means that this particular value is a calculated value. It is not direct entry. I hope that is noted. So you should be able to differentiate calculated values from direct entry or non-calculated value within your Excel worksheet. It's very important. So that brings us to the end of the formula bar. So you can expand it and collapse it here. All right. Now we are going to the next part, and the next part is that should be number 6. We are still understanding Microsoft Excel window features. We are trying to familiarize ourselves with the program. Now, the 6th feature in Excel interface is the worksheet, which is very, very important. The worksheet. So how do we define the worksheet? The worksheet is one of the most important features within Microsoft Excel environment. So what makes it more important? Because the worksheet is the electronic book, is the electronic interface that allows data inputs and manipulation. For example, all this information we have imputed are only made possible because of the presence of the worksheet. So the worksheet is very, very important. That's why I say is the most important part of the application. So that is why those that will be using this for record management, this is where they are going to load in their data or compute the data directly, like we are going to learn in our next section. So that section is actually dedicated for data entry. And then alongside, we are going to learn data entry techniques, data entry formatting. There are a whole lot of skills and how to write query function to compute a calculated value. We are going to learn all that in the next section. But now we just want to know what is the worksheet. Now, this is a sheet 1. So this is a worksheet. So I can click here now to add another sheet 2. I can click here and add another sheet. Now, there is difference between worksheets and workbook. And that is why I have to add more than one so that we can understand this. So let me slash it workbook. So there's difference between worksheets and workbook. Now, worksheets is the individual interface of the individual interface, like we are saying right now, is worksheet. If it is one like this worksheet, which helps us to compute values and manipulate what the value, and also perform all sorts of what calculations. Now, the collection of the records you have across multiple sheets forms what? A workbook. So what you actually name here is not a worksheet. So what you name sales inventory is a workbook. So it's just like a file. Just like a file where you can access what? Different what? Record. So this is a file. So when next I open this file, I should be able to access record that will have been captured under what? Sheet 1, record that will have been captured under what? Sheet 2, and record that will have been captured under what? Sheet 3. So these are some of the things we need to understand. Now, this sheet can be renamed. We can actually rename them because the default name is sheet 1. Now, each time you want to rename, I'm going to show you 2 ways. Either you double click on it and type in, let's say this is for my January what? Sales. Then you double click again. This is for my February sales. Now, if I don't want to use the double clicking option, I can simply select this sheet, right click on it, and then you will see what? Rename. And then I can say this is what? For March. So that is how to rename. Now, another thing again you can do is that you can actually switch their position. And as we are switching, all the records that will have been collected under them, they are equally what? Moving. For example, how do I move? If I click here now, just click on the sheet you want to move. Let's say I want to bring March record before January record. That is how I want to arrange it. So you click on it, hold down the left button, and then you see this icon. So just keep dragging it. You see that black icon here. So wherever it's pointed to, that is where, once you release your hand, you see that what you have ended up relocated the March to what? To that location. If I want to take it, the same thing, wherever I want it, I will drop. So these are some of the basic things that you need to know. All right. Now, you should also know how to delete sheets. Let's assume you want to delete a particular sheet from the workbook. So you right click on it and then you select what? Delete, and then the whole of that sheet and the record that will have been computed will have also what? Be deleted. So these are few things you need to understand. Now, remember what brought us here. I just wanted you to know the difference between worksheets and what? The workbook. Now you understand that the collection of worksheets forms what? A workbook. So which means that a workbook is a file that contains what? Multiple what? Worksheets. While the worksheet, they are the individual working environment that allows users of Excel to impute and manipulate what? Value, and also perform different calculations. All right, so now that we understand the worksheet, let's quickly look at the components of the worksheet. Components of the worksheet. Let's look at the components of the worksheet. So what do we mean by the components? We're talking about what? Various or different sections that makes up what? The worksheet. And as a beginner, you need to understand them. Very, very important you understand this. All right? Now, and their roles, not just knowing their name, you must know their primary functions. So the worksheet is made up of about 5 different components. The first one is what we call the columns. The columns. And what is the primary function of the column? So this is how I'm going to explain them. I'm going to first of all show you how you can identify them, and then before we look at what the function. Now, the columns are the vertical spaces. For example, the whole of this space I'm selecting is a column. Now, when we get to data entry, we will understand that one of the standard of collecting data is by applying the header or the field name. Then you understand it better. But for now, just note that the columns are labeled what? Alphabetically. They are labeled with alphabet. That is one secret. How do I identify column? Columns are the what? The spaces, the vertical spaces labeled with alphabet. So this is column A, this is column B, this is column C, this is column what? D. All right. Now we need to understand that the columns are actually structured for creating database what? Field names or headers or labels. For example, I can come here and say, this is for serial number. This is for customer what? Name. This is for product ID. This is for product ID. All right. This is for date. All right. So you can see that what? The role or the functions of the column, they are to help us when we are defining our data structure, just to define the columns, the headers. Now, before we go to the next worksheet component, let's ask ourselves this question. How many headers or how many columns can be created on a single sheet? For example, this is January sheet. How many of these headers can be what? Achieved? So that if I want to create a complex database, I will have an idea of, okay, how many headers can I even have in that data? So in Microsoft Excel, a single sheet like this constitutes 16,384 columns. So this is 384 columns. So which means that if I'm asked to create a database that have up to these numbers of headings, a single sheet can process it. And of course, nobody can consume the whole headings. So which means that if, for example, now I want to check the last column, all I'm going to do is to hold down the control button on my keyboard and then press the right arrow button. You see that a cell will jump to the last column. So anything after here right now, you have no other information. So what happened? How Excel got that 16,384 column? It actually counted everything from the beginning, from letter A down towards letter SFD. So sometimes when you go for an interview, trying to know whether you are familiar with Excel, they can just throw questions like, what is the total number of columns in a single sheet? So you just say 16,384. Now, if I want to go back to the beginning, the same thing, that will bring me back here. So you can take that as an assignment, go and count on your own, start counting from A. By the time you count to that SFD, you must have counted 16,384 columns. So that is all for the column as one of the components of the worksheet. The next one is the rows. The rows. So the rows are the horizontal spaces. For example, the rows are the horizontal spaces. Let me go to favorite sheet. The rows are the horizontal spaces. For example, the whole of this space is a row. And the rows represent record. In other words, they are used to compute what? Record. That is why we can define record as the collection of related field name, which means that what field names are the header. So what I collect here, for example, number 1, plus what I collect here, let's say Prosper, plus what I collect here, let's say 001, plus what I collect here, let's say this slash this. So the whole of this is a record. The whole of this is a record. That is what we are simply saying. The whole of this is a record. So I have another record here. I have another record here. So by the time you collect 2 or more records plus what 2 or more headers, that forms your data sets. That forms your data frame. All right, so that is data analysis 10. Okay, so now we understand 2 features of the worksheet or components of the worksheet. Now, let's ask ourselves again, just like the way we just find out that we have 16,384 columns. Supposing I'm asked that, how many rows, so that we have an idea of, okay, what is the total number of records that I can compute in a single word Excel sheet? How many records can a single Excel sheet contain? So, which means that we need to move from the first row to the last row. So, Excel single sheet can actually hold 1,048,576 records. So, how do we find that? So, you click on the first one here, hold down the control button, and then press the down arrow button. Press the down arrow button. That is going to jump to the last. That is going to jump to the last word row. So as you can see here, this is so, which means that you can compute this number of records in a single word sheet. That is why it is called spreadsheets. You can see how big it is, all the way from row 1 down to what 1 million plus. So I can do the same thing, control and up arrow key to go back to the top. All right, so now that is for the second component of the worksheet. So the third component of the worksheet is the cell pointer. The cell pointer. So what is the cell pointer? So the cell pointer is this ticker box that you are seeing. This is cell pointer. So some material will refer to it as active cell, active cell. So what does it denote? It tells us where our next value will display. For example, anywhere you can locate it, when you type anything on the keyboard, that is where it's going to appear. So that is basically the function of what? The active cell. So the next one is the next one is the insertion pointer. Insertion pointer. So let me change this one to active cell. So the insertion pointer is this big plus we are saying that helps us to, control the active cell. For example, I want to write here. So I have to redirect it from here by just using the insertion pointer to click. So anytime you want to redirect the active cell, then you use what? The big plus, which is referred to as the insertion pointer. Then, of course, the fifth component of the worksheet is the grid line. Grid lines. So what do we mean by the grid lines? The grid lines are the vertical and the horizontal lines So all these vertical lines, the horizontal lines, they form the what? The column, the rows, and the cell. So the grid lines are very important. So a user can actually control them. You can decide to remove them. Even these are the column label and the row label. You can actually what? Turn them off. How do we do that? You just go to view. If I want my Excel interface to look like Microsoft Word, I just go to view, and then from view, I'll just turn off the grid. You see that all the grid has gone. Then if I don't want to see all these header like A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, I click on this header and then they are also gone. If I don't want to see the formula bar, then I click on what? Formula bar, then everything. So you can decide to what? To make your Excel interface look like this. So just for you to know that you can control all this. All right. So I believe the last part, which will bring us to the end of this session, is the status bar, which is where we can access, that is the seventh feature of Microsoft Excel interface, which is number 7. It is called status bar. So the status bar updates us regarding to how many sheets we have used within the workbook and the name of those sheets. And then by the right hand side, we have this zoom meter that can help you to either shrink the entire interface or what, zoom it. And then you also have just before it these three layouts that determine how the entire interface is structured. So by default, it's already programmed on what? Normal. So if I switch to page layout, you see the view of what? Page layout. You can see the view of page layout. So page layout gives us like page by page. Okay, so that you to know, okay, where, what, and what we cut. So you can see that if not that I switch to this, you wouldn't have known that we have our entry has spanned beyond what? One page. And then we have this page break review, which can enable you to what? To view it or to view multiple sheets and also tell you this is the page 1, this is the page 2. So that when you are editing, you know the particular page you are. So that is the benefit of you understanding all this. So I can go back to the normal view. So this brings us to the end of this session. If you have any question, you ask. If you don't have question, and then we close the session, and then we get ready for Thursday. Thursday session is going to be very, very, very exciting because what we have summarized in this session as beginners, I try as much as possible to familiarize us with the program and its environment. That is what we have achieved. In our next session, which is on Thursday, our focus is going to be on data entry. Alongside, we are going to understand some data entry skills that we need to have as individuals or as people who want to use Excel for record management and also formatting and data organization, setup skill. All of these, we are going to look at that in that session on Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. That will be the last session for this particular training package. Mr. Sunday, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you.
Okay. So do you have any question? Any question?
No question from me. Well understood.
Okay. So I hope you understood everything we did.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will still send you the video for you to go through in case you have any issue. All right. So good night.
No problem. Thank you, sir.
See you.